Buongiorno freaks and geeks. I've taken time out writing my top 10 list of greatest neck, back and arse crackers in YouTube history to introduce an old segment done in a new and improved way. Or does that say in an improvised way? F it. Bring on the jingle.
That's the maestro.
It's time for a review. TV or film. From you know. Actually, f that. I just wanted to quickly point out the one reason why I never will be issuing a semi-apology to anyone ever again.
Flashback.
This is not a full apology to Lewis
Boys don't wear princess dresses.
Hamilton, but let's just say I was a bit premature.
End of flashback.
Because that person will almost certainly go out of their way to make me want to kick a f***ing corgi. I mean, what is this shit? But I guess it is too much to ask a person that is paid millions of pounds a year to travel around the world and drive in circles for hours to make an insightful and meaningful contribution to a scientific discussion. I'm the one out of line for raising the bar so high. Also, while we are on the subject of nuts, what am I supposed to do with this headline? The first manatee to permanently relocate to land, dress up in leftover human skin and digest nothing but the works of Adolf Hitler and join Voister is speaking human words again. Stephen Bannon once complained that there were too many immigrants in the United States. Now he prides himself on travelling to as many countries around the world sharing his special kind of f***ery. How can the UK government lurch any more to the right? To be honest, they are starting to make Elon Powell resemble a Liberal Democrat. But I bet he's less spinning and more coming in his grave because of their policy decisions. Okay, back to the jingle.
That's the maestro.
It's time for a review. TV or film. From you know who. MK motherfucking H. You'll never see someone so smooth.
Ask your mother.
So they call me the booty shaking mister.
Juicy ass.
No longer a review from a hipster.
Outdated.
Instead, it's a review from him, sir. Some of you may or may not know that I contribute to a fantastic and legendary podcast called Geek Sweat. It's a lot of fun and I will leave a link in the description below. Unfortunately, the podcast cannot cater to my every whim and impulse, so here we are. I've taken it upon myself to review a film that came out 4 years ago, no less. But I blame Brexit for making me miss it.
People here proclaiming this Thursday Independence Day.
I feel elated. I feel it's the happiest day for a long time. I feel free. I think the British people have spoken. Making our own laws. I have no idea who's governing me and making my rules in Europe. And I'm looking forward to the European club come tumbling down.
It's normal. Come on, guys. It's normal.
So here it is. Enjoy it, you filthy animals. A few weeks ago, I was introduced to the most silly film title. Currently, this movie can be found on Netflix. The flick in question is called Tomboy, not to be confused with the 1985 movie Tomboy, which focuses on a girl who works as a mechanic and hopes to become a stock car driver. This film in question stars Betsy Russell from the Saw franchise.
The games have just begun.
So do with that information what you will. Anyway, once I read the synopsis of the Tomboy I am actually referring to in this review, you will sharply realise two things. One, there is no way you'll be able to mix up the movies. Two, you will quickly wish it was a remake so that you were able to mix up the two movies. Tomboy 2016 is also known as The Assignment by some film buffs because the plot is elementary. After waking up and discovering that he has undergone gender reassignment surgery, an assassin seeks to find the doctor responsible. The film was formerly known as in brackets Assignment and Tomboy A Revenger's Tale. I guess unknown bin titles included Botched Surgery, Trans Antics, About a Man, Dude, Where's My Dick, Revenge is a dish best served by a man, and the list goes on. For obvious reasons, this film has been called out for transphobia. But before I get into all that, I want to talk about the cast and crew along with the plot. The motion picture was co-written and directed by Walter Hill, famous for cult classic The Warriors and buddy cop action comedy 48 Hours. It's going to be hard to criticize this film, but like Thanos said, the hardest choices require the greatest wills. It stars Dominic Toretto's UFC muscle, Michelle Rodriguez, in the protagonist role as Frank Kitchen. Interesting. It's Michelle's first lead role since the film Girl Fight in 2000, a film centered around women that are taken into slavery by a savage warlord, and the only way they can gain freedom is by fighting to the death in unarmed combat. Cap. It actually follows Diana Guzman, a troubled teenager from Brooklyn, who decides to channel her aggression by training to become a boxer, despite the disapproval of both her father and her prospective trainers and competitors in the male-dominated sport. This flick went on to spawn The $1 Million Baby. Two things: what attracts Michelle to star in films that feature pronouns in the title, and I Still Believe My Idea, a film centered around women that are taken into slavery by a savage warlord, and the only way they can gain freedom is by fighting to the death in unarmed combat, is a golden one and should be explored further by people with plenty money and very little sense. Sigourney Weaver stars as Dr. Rachel Jane, the person with the magical gender-bending fingers. She has linked up with Mr. Hill again after first doing it 40 years ago on the Alien franchise, where Walter is credited as screenwriter and producer. Tony Shahab is dragged into this mess for some reason. He stars as Dr. Ralph Gallen. The story functions perfectly well if you completely remove him. He is a sounding board for backstory and exposition in regards to Dr. Jane. It breaks my heart to see him in such a fruitless role, especially as I considered him to have played the best TV detective ever. He wholly embodied the OCD, murdered wife worshipping, curly head, genetically modified super sleuth Adrian Monk to perfection, to the point where I always thought that Patrick Jane is what happens if Mr. Monk turned into a sociopath.
You are out of your depth.
As well as already being a broken human.
Getting desperate because I'm closing in on him.
We also meet plastic Italian from down under, Anthony LaPaglia. I remember him for playing plastic Italian mobster from Canada, Vito Rizzuto, in Bad Blood. This time round he plays Honest John, a man with an unorthodox way of motivating the Chinese men that are literally paid to protect his body. Some could call them bodyguards, by making no secret of using words like chinky and Chinaman to their faces. Of course there are other characters, but I'm 2 pages. Jesus. This is going to take forever. Okay. Into writing this review, and I'm already exhausted.
I might have to take a break.
That siren you are hearing is an alert for spoilers, meaning that I will show you the best and dynamic items in car modifications. Ooh, look at that sexy piece of metal, or even that piece of... Nah, I'm joking. I'm about to spoil the shit out of this film, boy. We open in a mystery hotel with an invisible man looking like complaining that people never seem to see me, or something close to that. But it turns out it is the main protagonist, Frank, the main man, Kitchen. Then we pan over to the box of snakes ward in Crazy Acres, where we are introduced to Dr. Rachel Jane, sitting in a straitjacket resembling a more stable Houdini. We are quickly told that she has lost her medical license, and Dr. Gallen has been brought in to assess whether she is fit to stand trial for various crimes. It is revealed later that after Dr. Jane lost her medical license, the mad bitch began an illegal practice and performed unwanted surgical experiments on homeless people. Let me save you some time, Dr. Monk. Is she fit to stand trial?
No.
We are then shown a title card saying 3 years ago, where a posh twat off his tits on cocaine is seen playing on a pinball machine. We automatically lose sympathy for him because he has the cheek to tell a prostitute that she is shit at her job. but pays her anyway. We are quickly wishing that his throat is impaled on a broken cheese grater. This posh twat turns out to be the brother of crazy twat Dr. Jane. Enter stage left, Mr. Frank Kitchen, taking time out to put on a silencer before shooting the gun and killing Sebastian Jane. I don't know why, but I really hate seeing a person attach a silencer on screen. It doesn't add anything for me, and it just comes across as a lazy screenwriter's tool. Don't believe me that seeing a silencer being added isn't boring? Just look and listen to this all-American Second Amendment dude.
For those wanting to put a silencer on their handgun, you're going to need to know about pistons. So here's a dead air silencer's piston.
How can someone make a machine designed to extinguish life sound so boring?
So let me show you right here. There you can clearly see the piston and the threaded barrel. Now, if your firearm doesn't have a threaded barrel, you can purchase them easily.
Anyway, back to the hospital. Dr. Gallon doesn't believe Frank Kitchen is the wrong person and that alien woman has made him up. I don't blame Monk for thinking Frank was fabricated. Just look at his beard. It looks like something stolen from the children's nativity play. This film was shot in 2015. She's the Man was shot in 2005. How the hell do we regress within a decade? It's so funny that in a universe that features Ajax and Reggie Hammond, all it takes to be a white man is a beard and a longer nose. I hope this isn't a setup for some sort of Jewish conspiracy theory that every male assassin is a Jew in hiding. All I would need is a subtle poster of Wiley in the background for confirmation. We find out that this film is set in San Francisco, but the most Canadian part of the West Coast city, the place where people ride moose instead of horses. The local delicacy is poutine, and men allegedly use the feet of females as target practice. They seem to do business very strange in this part of Canada. I mean San Francisco, because Frank walks into the Shanghai hotel, demands a room, and immediately receives a key. I guess the rest of the transaction is done telepathically. The film introduces us to Frank's big dick during a shower scene where he doesn't seem to get that wet. The director, through some powerful storytelling, is showing us that we know from this point forward, whatever happens to Frank, at least we knew he was carrying around a lead pipe in his tight jeans. Some might say this is all overshadowed by Frank's nice soft lady butt, or his monstrous torso that looked like it was modelled after Dominic Cummings in a Halloween costume. Honest John shows up with Southeast Asian bodyguards but says phrases like Chinaman and Chinky, which left me thinking, if he says that to their faces, imagine what he says behind their backs. Screen wipe to Frank sitting in a bar doing manly things like sitting alone, drinking beer, and a woman picking music. This woman happens to be named Johnny. I guess in a film that has 9 listed cast members, the screenwriters ran out of names and had to keep Honest John and Johnny in the script. Frank then takes Johnny back to that crack den dressed up as a hostel, dressed up as a hotel. Frank opens a condom using his mouth. Apex man stuff. But it's done in a way that suggests that Frank has never used his mouth to even lick an envelope, let alone open a rubber. Anyway, they have sex face to face. Nothing wrong with that, except they look like 2 people dancing in a trance rave on mushrooms. Honest John comes back the next day and kidnaps Frank, which made me think, why didn't they do that originally? But then I remembered you had to shoe in that awkward sex scene somehow. We are reintroduced to the first scene in the movie, and Frank wakes up in a mystery hotel wearing a robe Zach Brannigan would be proud of. Then we have the slowest 10 years younger reveal in history.
Oh my god. Oh, that's never me.
And she's binned those sexless aging clothes in favour of something infinitely more flattering. Everything's ready for Carrie Mark II to make a test flight.
It's normal. Come on, guys. It's normal.
Frank checks the face. Nose and beard are missing. Frank checks the chest. Hair removed, and the smallest big tits have appeared. Then for the money shot, Frank checks the genitals. Frank reaches so far under searching for his lead pipe, I'm sure he ended up reaching his L2 lumbar. Frank screams no, and decides to trash the room. An insect resembling Bill Burr, after making one too many bad decisions, enters the room looking like a wife beater while wearing a wife beater and holding a baseball bat. Round of applause to wardrobe. He does some creep shit and then leaves. Through the medium of a dictaphone, we are provided with some more exposition as to why this happened. Dr. Jane really knows how to think outside the box. She didn't say, "You killed my brother, so I'm going to kill your brother or break your legs." Instead, "I will make you a woman against your will, leave you some pills, a handbag, and some feminine clothing." She ain't the villain we need, but she is the villain we deserve. Frank goes downstairs and kills more angry Bill Burr after trying to rob the cash register. But that's fine because hotel manager Bill Burr tried to Me Too Frank. But this is where it gets even more confusing because Billy assumed Frank was a woman asking to be sexually assaulted and didn't know that Frank actually identified as a man. So there was some misgendering violence in there as well. A second and more valid reason to be murdered in self-defense / cold blood. Next, Frank runs back to the Shanghai hotel and his room is also trashed. The owners saw the room like that and left it, presumably to rent it out later to another rude customer. Frank then calls blonde bombshell Johnny, who turns out to be a nurse. Johnny not only allows Frank to stay with her, but also get a dog and play happy families. This is where the wheels really fell off the film for me. You have sex with a man on a Tuesday, they come to you on Wednesday, physically a woman, and you immediately move them in without a second thought. She clearly works for the bad people. We return to the psych ward in the hospital where there is the strangest interaction between Mr. Monk and Ellen Ripley. For some reason, Monk says she is impotent, but then admits he knows that she slept with her assistant, which accumulates in Alien Woman attacking him. The most weird synergy between actors ever, but at least they both went in full throttle, I guess. More flashback scenes. We are shown Frank going on a Deadpool style killing spree to find Honest John. When he does find John, Frank says, "Why me?" Clearly forgetting everything that was explained to him on the dictaphone by Dr. Jane. Come on, Frank, get your shit together. Oh yeah, in between the shit, Frank goes to another doctor and asks, "Can I go back to being a guy?" And the doctor just reacts like,
"What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping."
This all happened while Frank was swallowing pills like lemonade, so maybe Frank was tripping. Johnny is revealed to be a spy for Miss Ripley. Oh no. Shock horror. The reason being because Johnny was stealing meds from the hospital she worked in, like picking apples from a tree. So Frank kicks her out of her own house and tells her to get across the country before he does something crazy. Like, I don't know, lick envelopes or open more condoms with his mouth. Then we see Frank do cosplay as a sexy exotic hooker to gain access to the shady underground clinic run by Dr. Jane, and is instantly caught. Dr. Jane decides to immediately kill him. Wrong. Instead, Dr. Jane announces she will give Frank his original body back, lead pipe and beard included, thus giving Frank Kitchen a second opportunity to come after her. Anyway, Frank breaks out, kills everyone and frames Dr. Jane, but not before cutting off Ripley's fingers, so she is never able to operate on anyone ever again. Oh yeah, Frank stays as a woman. The end. Not gonna lie, this film almost broke my brain, and I'm 100% certain Elon Musk watched this movie before racing to Twitter to write "pronouns suck." This film has a lot of problems, and that's before you get to the fact they wear low budget as a badge of honor, awful dialogue, creepy characters, bad makeup, and messy direction. The film made $206,939 against a budget of under $3 million. They made $200,000 more than I expected, or what they deserved. It holds a rating of 34% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 59 reviews. Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter gave the film a positive review, writing, "Hill's most entertaining and accomplished film in some time, and an instant cult item. This, kids, is why you should never do drugs. Dennis Harvey of Vanity gave the film a negative review, writing, graciously mashes together hard-boiled prime melodrama cliches and an unintentionally funny, oh no, I'm a chick now, gender change narrative hook. To my disbelief, Michelle Rodriguez won Best Actress from the band Der Deutschen Filmkritik. An award given by German film critics. Sorry to say it, but Germany is on its third strike now after World Wars 1 and 2. At first, I thought Michelle Rodriguez existed in the film's reality and won an award within that world, but I was stupid and wrong. The transgender community were upset because of, forced reassignment narrative, but director Walter Hill responded by stating, I wouldn't make a movie that hurt transgender people. Some of them have had a tough time of it, and the last thing I want to do is make anyone's road harder. But look, I understand the concern. Is it lurid? Yes. Is it lowbrow? Well, maybe. Is it offensive? No. I'm just trying to honor the B movies that we grew up with. But this article provides a list of the strongest transphobic arguments. Here we have the assignment, the 8 most offensive moments in a movie that equates trans people with sick medical experiments. So yeah, it speaks here about it being called in brackets assignment. I didn't know this. The title was based on a outdated surgical procedure, gender reassignment. Yeah, I remember that. Actually, I don't know why I said that. Okay. Now known as gender confirmation surgery. Good point. Oh, the first trailer dropped in 2015. Okay. The fact that it starred 2 iconic actresses beloved by the LGBT community was salt in the wound. I knew about Rodriguez being bisexual. Who got something? Weaver has been a lesbian favourite ever since playing strong, independent scientist Ripley in Alien. Okay, cool. Didn't know that. Let's just get to the point. Okay, this is quite funny actually. So during this review you would have noticed that I keep referring to Sigourney Weaver's character as Dr. Jane. Well, this article refers to her as Dr. K. Who is wrong here? Am I wrong, or are they, or the writer? Who's the writer of this? Let me just check. Is the Jude Dry? Is Jude Dry wrong? For the names that's been printed here, I don't know. I don't want to assign a gender to Jude either. I don't want to misgender anyone. Okay, so it says women. So this is quite funny. I remember this phrase. In many ways, it has been said the most splendid of God's creatures when Dr. Jane's talking about women, and that's why Dr. Jane did the surgery against Frank Kitchen's permission. So it says here, women don't want your pedestal. The idea women are all beautiful, precious creatures is rooted in views that also thought of women and girls as men's property. Fair enough. Okay, second we got when Dr. K, what the hell? This is confusing me. Dr. K tells Frank, I have liberated you from the macho prison you've been living in. You've been a very bad man. You bad boy. You've been a bad boy. This is your opportunity for redemption. The entire premise of this film is that turning a man into a woman is punishment. That is true, because like I said, did I say that? Yeah, I said that. Why not just kill him? But you thought a worse punishment than killing Frank or killing someone that Frank really cares about, what a bigger punishment than that is giving Frank a gender change. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, because for straight cis men, being a woman is the worst possible thing that could ever happen to him. Not only is this intensely anti-woman, it assumes a binary view of gender, the idea that there are only two genders that most trans people would like to abolish. Fair point. This is written in 2017, and in 2020 we are still having dead, I wouldn't say dead, but silly conversations around gender. Whatever. Dr. K, speaking of discrimination she faced at medical school, and I was a woman, that made it worse. Again, Dr. K represents the idea that being a woman is a burden, and the movie insinuates that her role as a woman in society is what made her lose her marbles and start performing back alley surgery. That is hilarious. Yeah, that's funny. Frank's ridiculous surgical bandages. I mentioned that Frank looked like the invisible person, man, whatever. Yeah. When Frank wakes up from his abduction, he is wrapped in strategically placed white gauze bandages. Unwrapping his face, there is no bruising or scarring. Only a beautiful Rodriguez acting as hard as she can. Rodriguez twists her face in anger at suddenly being a woman. Yeah, I remember seeing that. The bandages around her perfectly pressed wrapped in a crossbody, like a rejected costume from Cena. That's funny. That's actually quite funny. Yep, true. When Frank's love interest nurse named Johnny says of a patient, every time I change his IV, he grabs my butt. I don't mind. He's sweet and he's on his way out. Jesus. Yeah, that's nuts. That was nuts. I should have mentioned that. Don't know if that's transphobic though. I thought when I look at the top. Oh. No, yeah, it does say the 8 most offensive moments in a movie that equates trans people with sick. Maybe there's more than 8 here. Maybe I'm miscounting. Is there more than 8? No, there's 8. But I don't think that. Maybe I'm missing something. I didn't think that was a trans issue. A woman getting her arse grabbed. I think that's a Me Too issue and a sexual harassment issue. When Frank gazes sadly where his penis used to be and tells Johnny by way of seduction, I'll do what I can. Because it's only sex if there's a penis going into a vagina. What the hell do girls do in bed anyway? That's funny. Okay, next one. When Frank asks a doctor about his genitalia, can I get off with whatever this is? What? I don't remember that line. That's gross. Again, so this film does and we're seeing this today with Cardi B's and Meg Thee Stallion's smash hit record WAP, Wet Ass, and you know the last word. Yeah, so women aren't supposed to enjoy sex. Women are only supposed to be the sexual objects of men, which is quite ridiculous in 2020. Flipping out, we dropped, well, not we, America dropped a atomic bomb on Japan in 1945, and you would think, what's it, 70 years later, we would, like, I don't know, get over the fact that women enjoy sex. But okay, it says that this is probably one of the most viscerally dehumanizing moments in the film, tantamount to calling a trans person it, as if they were some kind of freak of nature. It's hate speech like this that leads 40% of transgender people to attempt suicide. Yeah, that's not great. Okay, and the last point here, Dr. K. Stop saying Dr. K. So Dr. K's big speech at the end, I wanted to reinforce the theory that if the gender is identity, and even the most extreme medical procedure will fail to alter the essence, and this proved to be true. Frank Kitchen is very much the man he was because he believes himself to be the man he was. This, as this speech shows, okay, Hill genuinely seems to think he's grappling with gender in a meaningful and positive way, rather than just chalk strange premise up to a science fiction plot. The movie attempts to justify itself with this half-hearted explanation. This idea is echoed in the defensive interview Hill, Weaver and Rodriguez gave leading up to the film's release, where Hill stated that Frank Kitchen is not transgender, but that he is forced into a body which he does not identify with. Okay, it also continues here with shoddy explanation only further prove that Hill had no business making this movie in the first place, which he admits himself. We had no idea when we were getting ready to make the movie that this was going to be a volatile subject. Really? You didn't know that was going to be a volatile subject? Like, do you live in a cave, Mr. Hill? Yeah, I don't know. Either he's playing really ignorant, or he's lying. So what is he? Ignorant at best, lying at worst. So yeah, I think that this article on IndieWire was quite thorough. No, actually, it wasn't quite thorough. It was quite good in explaining the gender, the transphobic themes that are essentially woven through the middle of this film. And yeah, if you want to read the article yourself, because I did it so badly. Jesus, these advertisements are so distracting. Okay, yeah, if you wanna look at it yourself, yeah, just type this into Google, and you'll be away. Okay, back to my video, I guess. No, actually, back to what I was doing. To be honest, John, for a moment, despite what I said about people being on drugs earlier and the blatant transphobic themes, I was weirdly entertained by the film. I laughed at how much I would have to suspend my disbelief in order to move past the last botched scene I just watched. But I do wish they had cast a actual transgender person to play the main role, going ballless to the wall, to coin a phrase. Also, Mr. Hill, you could have spoken to at least one transgender person. Not to use it as an excuse, but I don't think we should expect much from a script that was based on something written in 1978. Do you know what happened in 1978? Barry Manilow won a Grammy for Copacabana. Smallpox was a thing to be eradicated, and Lego was created. Today, you can get a f***ing Lego stripper. Times move forward. But we are where we are. But don't take my word for it. Go check out The Assignment on Netflix while you still can. It's not a long film. It's a little over 90 minutes. Peace out, bitches. Oh yeah. Wait. Trans aggression. Extreme makeover. Transmission. Revenge of the cis. He's the woman. And the list goes on.